Hello everyone, and welcome to today's videocast on intentional torts in healthcare management. I'm Dr. Cornejo, and I'm excited to guide you through this important area of legal and managerial responsibility within the healthcare field. In healthcare management, understanding the difference between intentional torts and negligence is crucial. Why? Because the distinction can help guide our policies, procedures, and day-to-day decisions, so we provide a safe environment for patients, staff, and visitors. We'll start by defining intentional torts, actions done with the purpose of causing harm, and contrasting them with negligent acts, which occur when someone fails to meet a reasonable standard of care. Next, we'll explore examples of common intentional torts that can arise in healthcare settings, such as assault and battery, how hands-on care or even the threat of unwanted contact can cross the line when intent is present. False imprisonment, how confining a patient against their will without proper justification can lead to significant legal ramifications. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, recognizing when extreme or outrageous conduct can harm a patient's emotional well-being. As healthcare managers, we must also stay alert to products liability issues, especially for hospitals, clinics, and long-term care facilities that use or distribute medical devices. We'll look at the legal theories plaintiffs rely on, whether it's strict liability, negligence, or breach of warranty when they claim a product caused them harm. On the flip side, we'll consider how manufacturers, often key partners in healthcare, might defend themselves. We'll discuss common defenses such as demonstrating proper labeling and warnings, showing lack of causation, and proving appropriate quality control measures were in place. By the end of this videocast, you'll have a deeper appreciation of what intentional torts are and how they differ from negligence in a healthcare context. The key intentional torts that healthcare managers must watch out for to keep their facilities compliant and safe. The theories behind products liability claims against manufacturers and how those claims can affect healthcare organizations. The defense strategies manufacturers might use and how healthcare leaders can be proactive when sourcing and managing medical products. Whether you're overseeing hospital operations, coordinating a clinical department, or simply interested in healthcare legalities, these concepts are vital. Let's begin our journey into the world of intentional torts and responsible healthcare management. I'm excited you're here to learn with me. Let's dive right in. An intentional tort arises when an individual deliberately undertakes an action that causes harm, fully aware or substantially certain that the harm will occur. Crucially, the motive behind the act does not negate liability. A defendant may still be held responsible regardless of why they chose to harm another party. What matters is the decision to commit the act, coupled with the knowledge that it would, more likely than not, result in damage or injury. When contrasting intentional torts with negligence, two main distinctions emerge: the presence of intent. In cases of intentional torts, the wrongdoer deliberately causes harm or knows with substantial certainty that harm will result. In negligence claims, by contrast, there is no deliberate desire to cause harm. Rather, liability arises from a failure to exercise the level of care a reasonable person would provide under the same circumstances. Nature of the conduct. While negligence may be based on an omission, failing to act when there is a legal duty, an intentional tort always involves a willful act. Thus, an intentional wrong is an affirmative, purposeful intrusion on another individual's rights or interests. Examples of intentional torts commonly recognized in the law include assault and battery, where one either threatens physical harm, assault, or makes unauthorized physical contact, battery. False imprisonment, where an individual is wrongfully confined or restrained. Defamation of character, where false statements harm someone's reputation. Fraud, where a deliberate misrepresentation causes harm. Invasion of privacy, where one intrudes upon another's personal space or uses private information without permission. Infliction of emotional distress, where extreme or outrageous conduct results in severe emotional trauma. Understanding these core principles and distinctions helps clarify legal obligations and risks, particularly in environments such as healthcare settings, where interactions with patients and colleagues must be handled with the utmost care and respect. In this slide, we're focusing on two closely related yet distinct intentional torts: assault and battery. We'll also explore some healthcare-specific examples, such as failing to obtain a patient's consent prior to surgery or physically restraining a patient without proper justification. Defining assault and battery assault involves a deliberate threat that, when coupled with the apparent present ability to carry it out, makes the other person reasonably fear that harm is imminent. Importantly, actual physical contact is not required for an assault to occur. Instead, the crucial element is the sense of immediate danger and the awareness by the threatened individual that they may be harmed. Battery, on the other hand, entails the intentional touching of someone in a socially impermissible manner without that individual's consent. Here, physical contact must indeed occur, but the contact itself need only be offensive or unauthorized, rather than necessarily causing physical injury. Thus, battery involves a willful act that violates another person's bodily integrity. To hold someone liable for assault or battery, 2 points are key. The person attempting the unlawful act must possess an apparent present ability to carry out the harmful or offensive contact. The individual being threatened must be aware of the immediate threat and experience reasonable fear or apprehension of harm. These elements ensure that both the perpetrator's capability and the victim's perception align to create a legally actionable claim. Examples: Case 1. Unauthorized surgery, Perna vs. Perozzi. In this New Jersey case, a patient consented to surgery by a specific surgeon, but was actually operated on by a different physician without prior notification or consent. The court held that the patient had a valid claim for medical malpractice or battery because any unauthorized invasion of the patient's body, no matter how well intended, can be legally actionable. Key takeaway: informed consent isn't just a formality. A patient must know and agree to who is operating. Hospitals and surgical teams should ensure that every patient is clearly and verbally informed if additional or alternate practitioners will perform the procedure. Case 2. Nurse muffles. Patient with pillow, Wyatt v. Iowa, Department of Human Services. Here, a registered nurse attempted to muffle a patient's screams with a pillow to protect another patient who was highly sensitive to noise due to a neurological condition. The court found that the nurse lacked the intent necessary for abuse or assault. She did not intend to harm the patient, only to reduce noise for the well-being of another patient. Key takeaway: intent matters greatly in assault and battery claims. Even if a healthcare worker's action might appear harmful, if the primary intention isn't to harm or offend and no unwarranted contact results, it may not meet the legal threshold for assault or battery. Important note: though not legally considered assault here, such actions could still raise professional conduct issues or patient safety concerns. Healthcare providers must carefully weigh all options when handling difficult situations. Case 3. Physician strikes, Nurse Pete versus Blackwell. In this Alabama case, a physician struck a nurse on the arm and cursed at her during a procedure. The nurse filed suit for assault and battery and was awarded punitive damages of $10,000. Although the physician appealed, arguing there wasn't enough evidence to justify such a high award, the Supreme Court of Alabama upheld the trial court's decision. The physical strike, combined with offensive language, constituted sufficient aggravating circumstances for the damages awarded. Key takeaway: physical force or threats in the workplace, even when minor, can be treated as battery. Verbal abuse plus physical contact can support claims for punitive damages, which punish particularly egregious or intentional misconduct. Maintaining professional behavior is not only ethical, it can also protect healthcare providers from legal liability. These cases show how assault and battery can arise in healthcare settings, whether it's performing surgery without proper disclosure, taking unusual measures to manage patient behavior, or engaging in unprofessional conduct with colleagues. Understanding legal definitions and the critical role of consent and intent is vital for risk management and patient-centered care. Please check your textbook for more specifics about these cases. Until then, stay informed and stay committed to providing compassionate, ethical care. We are exploring in these couple slides what constitutes false imprisonment, why the right to move freely is such a foundational principle in our legal system, and how these principles apply specifically to clinical and institutional settings. We'll start by defining false imprisonment as the unlawful restraint or confinement of an individual's personal liberty, an action that can occur without any actual physical force. In fact, words, threats, or intimidation can be enough to make someone reasonably fear detainment. You'll see in our slides some key case examples and legal elements that highlight what the courts look for in deciding whether false imprisonment has taken place. Next, we'll discuss the legal requirements for a plaintiff to successfully bring a false imprisonment claim. As you'll notice on the presentation slides, the plaintiff must show awareness of the confinement and the lack of any reasonable means of escape. We will walk through how such determinations are made, including situations where an alternative exit might be dangerous or impractical, thus potentially constituting false imprisonment. We'll also highlight examples where restraining an individual can be lawful, like the incarceration of criminals, the confinement of those with mental illnesses who pose a danger to themselves or others, and the restraint of certain long-term care residents for safety reasons. These justified cases illustrate that while the right to move freely is paramount, there are legal exceptions grounded in safety and the greater good. Finally, we'll turn our attention to how false imprisonment can occur in healthcare settings, an area of special concern for practitioners, administrators, and legal professionals. We'll see how excessive force or intimidation used to restrict a patient's movement can potentially lead to liability for both false imprisonment and battery. So in this slide, we can see that physical restraint may be legally justified when a patient becomes violent or poses an imminent risk to others. Similarly, guidelines exist for detaining individuals with certain contagious diseases or mental health conditions, as long as the confinement follows statutory requirements and is minimally restrictive. Behavioral health patients with potential harm to themselves or others can be confined until it is safe to release them, although procedures must be followed to ensure due process. Restraints generally serve as a last resort to prevent self-harm, falls, or other threats. However, their overuse has raised concerns about patient autonomy, freedom of movement, and associated health risks. Federal regulations, including the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1987, emphasize that restraints should only be used when medically necessary, with documented physician orders, periodic reviews, and informed consent from the patient or legal guardian. Proper implementation requires comprehensive policies, staff education, careful appraisal of each patient's needs, and ongoing monitoring to minimize harm or liability. Ultimately, balancing safety with respect for individual rights is essential in managing restraint use and detainment situations. For a thorough exploration of legal standards, ethical considerations, and practical case insights, refer to the relevant textbook chapter for more detailed analysis guidance. Reducing the use of physical restraints in healthcare settings requires a systematic approach that prioritizes both patient safety and personal rights. First, organizations must develop clear policies and procedures aligning with state and federal guidelines, ensuring that staff members understand legal and ethical frameworks. Such policies should highlight alternative interventions and outline circumstances where restraints might be considered as a last resort. Next, education and orientation of staff is critical. Training programs can help healthcare professionals learn de-escalation techniques, better patient communication, and other non-restrictive strategies. Education for patients and families is equally important so they understand why restraints might be used and what rights patients maintain during care. A sound appraisal of need for restraints should be made on a case-by-case basis, evaluating the patient's medical and psychological condition. When restraints are necessary, care teams should use the least restrictive form possible, balancing risk management with patient dignity. Meanwhile, continuous monitoring ensures that each patient's status is reassessed regularly to determine whether restraints remain required. By releasing patients promptly when the risk abates, facilities can uphold best practices, minimize negative outcomes associated with prolonged restraint, and foster a more compassionate and respectful care environment. Welcome to the segment on defamation of character, a key concept in civil law that safeguards individuals from false or damaging statements made to third parties. Crucially, a statement must be communicated to someone other than the individual being discussed. Merely insulting a person directly does not qualify. There are two primary forms of defamation: slander, which is verbal, and libel, which is written or visually expressed, e.g., signs, letters, cartoons. Throughout this part of our presentation, we will explore how defamation claims arise, examine the distinctions between slander and libel, and highlight the importance of protecting one's reputation in professional and personal contexts. Slander. Lawsuits are rare because proving defamation is challenging. Potential awards are small, and legal fees can be high. Typically, the plaintiff must prove special damages, except if the disputed words directly address a person's professional capacity, where injury is presumed. Professionals deemed incompetent in front of others can also sue to protect their reputations, though they must demonstrate that the comment was false. In one Georgia case, a nurse brought a defamation suit against a physician alleging slander. However, because the court determined that the physician's statement did not refer to her professional capacity, she was required to prove damages which she could not. Libel involves written or visually communicated false statements that harm reputation and must be conveyed to a third party. Truth is a complete defense. Certain statements are deemed defamation per se, such as accusing someone of a crime, having a loathsome disease, or impugning their profession. In these instances, damages to reputation are presumed, meaning no special proof is needed. Healthcare professionals are protected against libel claims when they are legally required to report patient health information. Damages in libel cases often revolve around economic losses, such as reduced business or termination of employment opportunities. So defamation of character involves making false statements that harm an individual's reputation. To establish a defamation claim, 4 key elements must be proven. First, there must be a false and defamatory statement. This means the statement is untrue and injurious to the person's reputation. Second, the statement must be communicated to someone other than the plaintiff, ensuring that the defamatory content is disseminated beyond the individual, thereby increasing its harmful impact. Third, there must be fault on the part of the defendant, which can range from negligence to actual malice, depending on the context and the public status of the plaintiff. This element assesses the defendant's responsibility in making the false statement. Lastly, the plaintiff must demonstrate special monetary harm, indicating that the defamatory statement caused specific financial losses or economic damages. This could include loss of business, employment opportunities, or other tangible financial setbacks directly resulting from the defamatory remarks. Together, these elements form the foundation for proving defamation of character, safeguarding individuals against false statements that unjustly tarnish their reputation and cause economic harm. Accusations that require no proof of actual harm fall under the category of defamation per se. In such cases, the law recognizes certain statements as inherently damaging, eliminating the need for the plaintiff to demonstrate specific financial or reputational losses. Key examples include 1. Accusing a person of a crime. Alleging that someone has committed a criminal offense is inherently defamatory. Such accusations can severely tarnish an individual's reputation, regardless of whether the claim is proven true or false. 2. Accusing a person of having a loathsome disease. Claiming that someone suffers from a stigmatized or contagious disease can lead to social ostracization and emotional distress, making it automatically defamatory. 3. Using words that are harmful to a person's profession or business. Statements that disparage an individual's professional abilities or business practices can directly impact their livelihood. For example, falsely claiming that a business engages in fraudulent activities can lead to loss of clients and revenue. Calling a woman unchaste. Accusations questioning a woman's chastity or moral integrity can cause significant personal and social harm, warranting defamation claims without the need for additional proof of damage. These defamation per se categories streamline legal proceedings by recognizing the intrinsic harm caused by such statements, thereby protecting individuals from inherently damaging false accusations without the burden of proving specific damages. Now let's analyze the case of performance appraisals. So, performance appraisals, when improperly disclosed, can lead to defamation claims, highlighting the delicate balance between organizational transparency and individual reputation protection. In Krause v. Brand's letter, a hospital newsletter statement about discharging a nursing supervisor was deemed libel per se. The newsletter's portrayal of the supervisor's removal through a unanimous vote of no confidence suggested incompetence without providing specific performance details, thereby harming her professional reputation inherently. This case underscores how general negative statements, especially when presented as fact, can automatically be considered defamatory. Conversely, not all performance-related statements result in libel. In the same case, a physician's remark about early Christmas bonuses and a potential firing was not classified as slander per se, primarily because it did not directly impugn anyone's professional abilities, and the statement about firing was truthful. Similarly, in another case, a performance appraisal labeled the employee's performance as fair in several categories was not found to be defamatory. The court recognized the appraisal as a protected expression of opinion within the scope of qualified privilege, especially since it adhered to hospital policies and remained internal. These examples illustrate that while certain performance appraisals can be inherently defamatory if they unjustly damage a professional's reputation, others are protected by legal doctrines when they reflect honest assessments or opinions made within a privileged context. Organizations must carefully navigate these distinctions to avoid legal repercussions while maintaining effective performance evaluation systems. In the realm of defamation law, the case of newspaper articles found not libelous exemplifies the protection afforded to editorial content under the First Amendment. Specifically, an editorial cartoon portraying three individuals resembling gangsters within a dilapidated building, identified as a particular facility closed by state order, was adjudicated as an expression of pure opinion rather than defamatory fact. Academically, this distinction is pivotal. Courts often differentiate between actionable defamatory statements and protected opinions. The cartoon's depiction leveraged artistic exaggeration and metaphor, inherently subjective elements that do not assert verifiable falsehoods about the individuals or the facility. Consequently, the portrayal was shielded from libel claims as it lacked the requisite defamatory intent and factual basis necessary for such claims. This case underscores the judiciary's recognition of the essential role of free expression in media, particularly in editorial and satirical contexts, thereby reinforcing robust First Amendment protections against defamation in journalistic endeavors. In defamation law, slander pertains to defamatory statements made orally. A fundamental requirement for a slander claim is the demonstration of special damages, which are specific, quantifiable losses directly resulting from the defamatory remarks. Special damages may include lost income, diminished business opportunities, or other measurable financial impacts. This requirement ensures that only statements causing tangible harm are actionable, thereby preventing frivolous lawsuits based on unsubstantiated claims of reputation damage. However, an important exception exists when the defamatory statements concern a person's professional capacity. In such instances, the defamation is classified as defamation per se, meaning the plaintiff does not need to prove special damages. Statements that impugn an individual's professional competence, integrity, or business practices are inherently damaging because they directly affect the person's ability to perform their job or attract clients. For example, falsely accusing a doctor of malpractice or a lawyer of unethical behavior automatically presumes harm to their professional reputation. This presumption facilitates the protection of professionals by recognizing that such defamatory statements inherently carry significant reputational and economic consequences. Consequently, professionals can pursue defamation claims without the burden of demonstrating specific financial losses, thereby reinforcing the safeguarding of their professional standing and integrity. Defamation law recognizes two primary defenses: truth and privilege. The truth defense asserts that a defamatory statement is not actionable if it can be proven true. This fundamental principle protects individuals who make accurate statements even if they harm another's reputation. Privilege serves as another crucial defense, categorized into absolute privilege and qualified privilege. Absolute privilege applies to statements made in specific contexts such as judicial and legislative proceedings and confidential communications between spouses. These statements are protected regardless of intent or malice, ensuring open and honest discourse in critical settings. Qualified privilege applies to situations where the speaker has a legal or moral duty to communicate, and the recipient has a legitimate interest in receiving the information. Examples include an administrator reporting a physician's professional misconduct to a supervisor. For qualified privilege to hold, the communication must be made in good faith, on the proper occasion, and without malice. If it is demonstrated that the statement was made with ill intent, such as for monetary gain or out of hatred, the privilege is forfeited and the speaker may be liable for defamation. In summary, the defenses of truth and privilege are essential in defamation law, balancing the protection of reputations with the necessity of free and responsible communication. These defenses ensure that truthful and duty-bound statements are not unduly penalized, while malicious falsehoods remain actionable. Fraud in healthcare management involves willful and intentional misrepresentations that cause harm or financial loss to individuals or property. This type of fraud encompasses any cunning, deception, or artifice used to violate legal or equitable duties, aiming to circumvent, cheat, or deceive others. Examples include billing for unrendered services, upcoding procedures for higher reimbursements, falsifying patient records, and misrepresenting qualifications of healthcare providers. Such fraudulent activities undermine the integrity of healthcare systems, leading to significant financial losses, compromised patient care, and diminished trust. Preventative measures, including robust internal controls and regular audits, are essential to combat healthcare fraud effectively. As we can see in this slide, to establish fraud, a plaintiff must demonstrate three critical elements. First, there must be an untrue statement knowingly made by the defendant with the intent to deceive. This means the defendant was aware the statement was false and intended for the victim to rely on it. Second, the victim must have justifiably relied on the truth of the statement, meaning their reliance was reasonable under the circumstances. Finally, this reliance must have resulted in damages, such as financial loss or harm to reputation. Collectively, these elements substantiate a claim of fraud, ensuring that deceitful actions are legally accountable. Fraud, willful and intentional misrepresentation. Fraud constitutes a willful and intentional misrepresentation that can cause significant harm or loss to an individual or their property. This deceptive conduct involves knowingly providing false information with the intent to deceive another party. For example, a healthcare provider may engage in fraud by purposefully concealing the presence of surgical sponges left in a patient's abdomen following surgery. Such deliberate concealment not only endangers the patient's health, but also results in financial and emotional distress. This example underscores the critical importance of honesty and integrity in professional settings, highlighting the severe repercussions of intentional misrepresentation. Intentional tort of invasion of privacy. Invasion of privacy is a recognized intentional tort that infringes upon an individual's right to personal privacy. Rooted in the constitutional right to be left alone, this tort protects individuals from unwarranted publicity and unauthorized exposure of their private lives. In the context of healthcare, the right to privacy is paramount, balancing patient confidentiality with the practical necessities of medical care. Courts acknowledge that absolute privacy must be moderated to ensure effective patient care, particularly when patients are incapacitated or unable to protect their own privacy. Healthcare professionals and organizations have a legal and ethical duty to safeguard patient information. Unauthorized disclosure of medical records or intrusive actions into a patient's personal affairs can constitute invasion of privacy. For instance, improperly accessing a patient's medical information or physically intruding into their personal space without consent are actionable offenses. Maintaining confidentiality is critical, except in legally mandated situations such as reporting communicable diseases or instances of abuse. Textbook discussions emphasize that breaches of patient confidentiality, whether intentional or negligent, can lead to significant legal consequences and undermine trust in healthcare systems. Ensuring robust privacy protections is essential for upholding patient dignity and fostering a trustworthy healthcare environment. Intentional tort of infliction of mental distress. Intentional tort of infliction of mental distress addresses conduct that is so extreme and outrageous it surpasses societal norms, resulting in significant emotional suffering for the victim. This tort recognizes that certain actions, though not physically harmful, can profoundly impact an individual's mental well-being. To establish a claim, plaintiffs must demonstrate 4 essential elements. 1. Intentional or reckless conduct. The defendant must have acted with the intention to cause emotional harm or with a reckless disregard for the likelihood of such distress. 2. Extreme and outrageous behavior. The actions must be egregious and offensive to the standards of a decent society. Mere insults or trivial annoyances do not suffice. 3. Causation of emotional distress. There must be a direct link between the defendant's conduct and the plaintiff's emotional suffering. 4. Severe emotional distress. The distress experienced by the plaintiff must be significant, such as grief, humiliation, or profound anxiety, rather than minor or transient emotions. Several landmark cases illustrate these principles. In Johnson v. Women's Hospital, the hospital displayed a premature infant in a freezer without the mother's consent, an act deemed outrageous and resulting in severe emotional trauma. Similarly, in the case where a mother was shown her deceased premature infant, the hospital's intentional concealment and subsequent exposure of the infant caused profound grief and distress, validating the claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Another pertinent example is Greer v. Meadows, where a physician's verbal abuse towards a patient and his wife led to uncontrollable shaking and psychiatric treatment for the patient. The physician's aggressive and unwarranted remarks were found to be extreme and malicious, directly causing significant emotional harm. These cases underscore the necessity for healthcare professionals to maintain respectful and compassionate interactions. The judiciary's recognition of such conduct as actionable ensures that individuals and institutions are held accountable for behaviors that inflict severe emotional distress, thereby upholding societal standards of decency and protecting individuals' mental well-being. Products liability. So, products liability refers to the legal responsibility of manufacturers, sellers, or suppliers for injuries sustained by buyers or third parties due to defects in a product. This liability framework ensures that all parties in the distribution chain are accountable for the safety and reliability of their products. An injured party may pursue a lawsuit based on 3 primary legal theories: negligence, failure to exercise reasonable care in designing, manufacturing, or distributing the product; breach of warranty, violating express or implied promises regarding the product's quality or functionality. Strict liability, holding defendants liable regardless of fault, focusing solely on the presence of a defect that makes the product unreasonably dangerous. Many states have enacted comprehensive products liability statutes varying widely, prompting the U.S. Department of Commerce to create the Model Uniform Products Liability Act, MUPLA, for voluntary adoption. Product defects are categorized into design defects, flaws in the product's blueprint, manufacturing defects, errors during production, marketing defects, inadequate instructions, or misleading claims. A notable case involved a $200 million settlement following a deadly meningitis outbreak linked to the New England Compounding Center in Massachusetts. This case highlighted severe manufacturing and marketing defects, resulting in significant harm and criminal charges for the New England Compounding Center, emphasizing the critical need for stringent quality control and ethical practices in the pharmaceutical industry. Products, liability legal theories in healthcare management. So in healthcare management, products liability encompasses several legal theories to hold manufacturers, sellers, or suppliers accountable for defective medical products. Negligence. The theory requires proving that a party failed to exercise reasonable care in the design, manufacturing, or distribution of medical device or pharmaceutical, resulting in patient harm. For example, if a hospital uses improperly sterilized equipment leading to infections, the supplier may be negligent. Breach of warranty, express warranty, clear specific promises about a product's performance, such as a medical device's safety features. If a device fails to perform as expressly warranted, the manufacturer can be held liable. Implied warranty assumes that a product is fit for its intended use. If a drug causes unexpected adverse effects, it may breach the implied warranty of merchantability. Strict liability. In healthcare, this holds suppliers liable for defects regardless of fault. If a defective implant causes injury, the manufacturer is strictly liable, ensuring accountability even without proving negligence or warranty breaches. These theories ensure rigorous standards in healthcare products, protecting patients and promoting safe medical practices. Negligence is a fundamental legal theory in products liability, particularly within healthcare management, where the safety and reliability of medical products are paramount. To establish negligence, the plaintiff must demonstrate 4 essential elements. Duty. The defendant owed a legal duty to the plaintiff. In the context of products liability, this duty arises because the defendant manufactured, sold, or supplied a product that the plaintiff used. As an example, a medical device manufacturer owes a duty to healthcare providers and patients to ensure that their products are safe and free from defects. Breach. The defendant breached that duty by failing to adhere to the required standard of care. This means the product was defective when it left the manufacturer's control. As an example, if a surgical instrument is improperly sterilized during manufacturing, resulting in contamination, the manufacturer has breached their duty to produce a safe product. Injury. The plaintiff suffered actual harm or injury as a result of using the defective product. The injury must be directly attributable to the product's defect. Example: a patient develops a severe infection due to the use of a contaminated surgical instrument, resulting in additional medical treatments and complications. Causation. The plaintiff must prove that the defect in the product was the proximate cause of the injury. This means the injury was a foreseeable result of the defect. As an example, The contamination of the surgical instrument was a direct and foreseeable cause of the patient's infection, establishing a clear causal link between the defect and the injury. So, in healthcare management, demonstrating negligence involves a meticulous examination of each element to ensure that manufacturers, suppliers, or sellers are held accountable for defects that compromise patient safety. This framework not only compensates injured parties, but also incentivizes the maintenance of high standards in medical product manufacturing and distribution. Examples of negligence in products. Liability within healthcare management. Negligence in products liability within healthcare management involves the failure to ensure that medical products are safe and free from defects, leading to patient harm. One example is selling equipment with a known hazardous design. Manufacturers may continue to market medical devices despite awareness of design flaws that increase the risk of user error, such as poorly labeled connections on anesthesia machines, resulting in severe patient injuries. Another instance is the tainted pharmaceuticals, where products like over-the-counter drugs become contaminated, posing significant health risks. Even with stringent safety measures, if contamination occurs and manufacturers fail to address it promptly, they can be held liable for resulting injuries. Negligent use of medical devices also exemplifies this negligence. For example, improper handling or placement of surgical instruments, such as contact plates during surgery, can cause burns or other injuries to patients. This highlights the necessity for adherence to manufacturer instructions and proper training for healthcare staff. Defective packaging poses serious risks, as seen when improperly sealed syringes allow needle exposure, leading to potential infections. Manufacturers must ensure that packaging protects the product from contamination and misuse. Lastly, failure to warn about the potential risks of a product, such as not adequately informing users about the cardiovascular dangers of a painkiller, can result in widespread harm. Proper labeling and clear communication of risks are essential to prevent such negligence. These examples underscore the critical need for rigorous quality control, comprehensive training, and transparent communication in healthcare management to protect patients and ensure product safety. Breach of warranty is a critical concept within products liability law, encompassing the failure of a seller or manufacturer to uphold the promises or assurances made regarding a product's quality or functionality. This legal doctrine ensures that consumers receive products that meet certain standards of performance and safety, thereby protecting public welfare and maintaining trust in the marketplace. Breach of warranty can be categorized into two primary types: express warranty and implied warranty. Express warranty involves explicit promises or affirmations made by the seller about a product. For instance, if a pharmaceutical company guarantees that a drug is free from addiction risks, this creates an express warranty. Should the product fail to perform as advertised, such as a painkiller leading to unexpected addiction, the manufacturer may be held liable for breach of express warranty. This was exemplified in a case where a drug company was held accountable for falsely assuring that their medication was safe from addiction, resulting in significant harm to a patient who developed a dependency. Implied warranty, on the other hand, pertains to unspoken assurances that a product will function as intended. This type of warranty is automatically assumed by law to protect consumers. For example, in a scenario where contaminated food products cause illness or death, the manufacturer is liable under an implied warranty of merchantability, which assumes that the food is safe for consumption. However, Not all scenarios qualify for implied warranties, as illustrated by a case where a hospital's provision of blood was deemed a service rather than a sale, thereby barring recovery under an implied warranty when the patient contracted an illness from a blood transfusion. These distinctions underscore the necessity for manufacturers and sellers to uphold both explicit and implicit assurances regarding their products. In healthcare management, ensuring compliance with warranty obligations is paramount to safeguarding patient health and maintaining legal and ethical standards. Rigorous quality control, accurate marketing, and transparent communication are essential strategies to prevent breaches of warranty and mitigate potential liabilities. Key points to remember: express warranty, specific promises about product performance. Liability arises if the product fails these promises. Implied warranty, unspoken legal assurances that a product is fit for its intended use. Liability arises if the product is inherently defective. Healthcare implications, critical for patient safety and legal accountability, emphasizing the need for stringent adherence to warranty obligations. Understanding breach of warranty is fundamental for healthcare providers and manufacturers to ensure product reliability and protect against legal repercussions, thereby fostering a safer and more trustworthy healthcare environment. Strict liability is a pivotal legal doctrine within products liability law, holding individuals or entities responsible for damages their actions or products cause, irrespective of any fault or negligence. This principle is particularly relevant in inherently hazardous activities such as urban blasting, where the mere occurrence of injury, despite the company's careful practices, can result in liability. In the realm of healthcare management, strict liability is frequently applied to manufacturers of pharmaceuticals and medical equipment. Under this doctrine, plaintiffs are not required to prove that the manufacturer was negligent. Instead, the focus is on the presence of a defect and the resultant injury. For a strict liability claim to be successful, the plaintiff must establish the following elements. Manufactured by defendant. The product in question must have been manufactured by the defendant. Defect at time of sale. The product must have been defective when it left the manufacturer's control. Defects can be categorized as manufacturing defects, design defects, or inadequate warnings. Injury caused by product. The plaintiff must have sustained injury directly from using the product as intended. Proximate cause. The defect must be the proximate cause of the plaintiff's injury, establishing a direct link between the defect and the harm suffered. Strict liability facilitates the awarding of damages without the necessity of proving negligence, thereby streamlining the legal process for injured parties. This approach is particularly significant for pharmaceutical manufacturers who face increasing litigation risks, as legal practitioners leverage media platforms to attract clients alleging harm from medications. In response, drug manufacturers often incorporate extensive disclaimers in their advertisements to mitigate potential liabilities. Overall, strict liability plays a crucial role in ensuring that manufacturers maintain high standards of product safety and accountability, thereby protecting consumers and fostering trust within the healthcare system. Key points to remember. Definition: liability without fault for damages caused by products or actions. Application: inherently hazardous activities and healthcare product manufacturing. Elements: manufacturer, defect, injury, proximate cause. Impact: facilitates damage awards without proving negligence. Influences pharmaceutical advertising practices. Understanding strict liability is essential for healthcare managers and manufacturers to navigate legal responsibilities, enhance product safety, and implement effective risk management strategies. Products liability and res ipsa loquitur in healthcare management. Products liability in healthcare management pertains to the accountability of manufacturers, sellers, or suppliers for injuries caused by defective medical products. A key legal doctrine that aids plaintiffs in such cases is res ipsa loquitur, a Latin term meaning the thing speaks for itself. This principle allows the inference of negligence from the very nature of an accident or injury, without direct evidence of the defendant's fault. In the context of healthcare management, res ipsa loquitur is particularly valuable when the precise defect is not immediately identifiable. To invoke this doctrine, the plaintiff must establish three essential elements. The product did not perform as intended. The medical device or pharmaceutical failed to function in the manner it was designed, leading to patient harm. For example, a defibrillator that malfunctions during a critical procedure directly impacts patient safety. The product was not tampered with by the buyer or third parties. It must be demonstrated that the product was used correctly and had not been altered or misused by the healthcare provider or any third party, ensuring the defect originated from the manufacturer. The defect existed at the time it left the defendant. Evidence must show that the product was defective when it was supplied, prior to its use in the healthcare setting. This could involve manufacturing flaws or inherent design issues present upon distribution. Res ipsa loquitur streamlines the litigation process by allowing courts to presume negligence based on the circumstances, thereby protecting patients and ensuring that healthcare products meet rigorous safety standards. This doctrine underscores the imperative for manufacturers to maintain high-quality controls and for healthcare providers to utilize product as intended, fostering a safer healthcare environment. Understanding res ipsa loquitur within products liability empowers healthcare managers to uphold safety standards and mitigate legal risks, ultimately safeguarding patient well-being and institutional integrity. Examples of products liability cases in healthcare. Products liability in healthcare encompasses various scenarios where defective products cause harm. Manufacture of unsafe drugs involves pharmaceuticals that pose health risks due to contamination or harmful ingredients. Tainted steroid injections highlight the dangers of contaminated medications administered to patients. Unsafe design of medical equipment, such as flawed anesthesia machines, can lead to severe patient injuries despite proper use. Third-party tampering with drugs, like the tainted Tylenol capsules, underscores vulnerabilities in product security. Negligent operation of medical equipment, exemplified by the Bovi machine mishandling, results in patient harm from improper use. Defective packaging, such as syringes missing protective coverings, increases infection risks. These cases illustrate the critical need for stringent quality control, secure packaging, and proper training to ensure patient safety and uphold legal accountability in healthcare. Products liability defenses. In products liability law, manufacturers and sellers can employ several defenses to mitigate or eliminate liability for injuries caused by defective products. Assumption of risk applies when plaintiffs voluntarily expose themselves to known dangers, such as undergoing radiation therapy or chemotherapy, acknowledging the inherent risks involved. Intervening cause occurs when a third party, like a product user contaminating an IV solution, breaks the causal chain between the defect and the injury. Contributory negligence. involves plaintiffs using products improperly outside their intended use, thereby contributing to their own harm. Comparative fault allows liability to be shared between the manufacturer and the plaintiff when both parties are negligent. Disclaimers. And manufacturer's inserts serve to limit liability by providing warnings and instructions, aiming to inform users of potential risks and proper usage to prevent misuse. Hello everyone, and welcome to our final videocast slides, where we'll be summarizing the key concepts from our chapter on intentional torts and products liability. Whether you're a law student, a professional in the healthcare industry, or simply interested in understanding these legal principles, this summary will provide a clear and concise overview. Let's begin with intentional wrongdoing. This involves deliberate actions that violate another person's interests, with the perpetrator knowing that their actions will cause harm. Key intentional torts include 1. Assault. This is the infringement on someone's mental security or tranquility. Notably, actual physical harm is unnecessary for an assault charge. 2. Battery. Unlike assault, battery involves the actual physical violation of another person's integrity. 3. False imprisonment. This occurs when an individual is unlawfully restrained or confined. Next, we have defamation of character, which involves false statements that harm an individual's reputation. This can be libel, written defamation, slander, spoken or verbal defamation. Fraud, thus, is another serious intentional tort characterized by willful misrepresentation intended to deceive, causing harm or loss. To prove fraud, a plaintiff must establish 1. An untrue statement made knowingly with intent to deceive. 2. Justifiable reliance on that statement by the victim. 3. Damages resulting from that reliance. Invasion of privacy. Involves unauthorized interference with an individual's personal privacy. This protection is crucial in today's information-driven world, especially within healthcare settings, where patient confidentiality is paramount. Infliction of mental distress refers to conduct so outrageous it exceeds societal norms, causing significant emotional suffering such as grief, humiliation, or shame. Shifting gears, let's discuss products liability. This holds manufacturers, sellers, or suppliers accountable for injuries caused by defective products. The main legal theories on their products liability include 1. Negligence. Failing to exercise reasonable care in designing, manufacturing, or distributing a product. 2. Failure to warn. Not providing adequate warnings or instructions about product risks. 3. Breach of warranty. Express warranty takes wide. Specific promises about a product's quality or functionality. Implied warranty. Unspoken guarantees that a product is fit for its intended use. 4th. Strict liability. Holding manufacturers liable regardless of fault, focusing solely on the presence of a defect. Manufacturers and sellers can defend against products liability claims through several defenses. Assumption of risk. When plaintiffs voluntarily expose themselves to known dangers. Intervening cause. When a third party's actions break the causal link between the defect and the injury. Contributory negligence. When the plaintiff's own negligence contributes to their injury. Seen as comparative fault. Sharing liability between the manufacturer and the plaintiff based on their respective contributions. Disclaimers. Limiting liability through warnings and instructions provided with the product. To wrap up, understanding these intentional torts and products Liability theories is essential for navigating legal responsibilities, ensuring ethical conduct, and maintaining accountability in both personal and professional contexts. Whether you're protecting your rights or ensuring compliance within your organization, these principles form the foundation of a just and responsible society. Thank you for joining this final fascinating topic. I hope this summary has clarified these complex legal concepts. Stay informed, stay protected, and until next time, take care.